Hi guys, today we're going to do Unit 3, Section 5, Compound Interest. Now there's two types of interest. There's compound interest and there's simple interest. Simple interest, you can use the growth equation. It's just growing as the interest goes up. We're not adding to the original amount over and over again. So our principal doesn't change. Our original deposit doesn't change. So if we talk about simple interest, you're always earning the interest on what you originally put in. Okay? So it's the interest on the original deposit. Okay, you never earn more than the interest on the original deposit. We're going to talk about today is compound interest. Now, compound interest is what you want when you invest money, but not what you want when you're paying off a bill. Because a compound interest, you pay interest on the original deposit or original amount plus past interest. So you can see with compound interest, things grow much quicker. Your debt grows much quicker if you're paying compound interest. Your investment grows much quicker if you're getting a compound interest. So we're going to talk about compound interest today, but I just wanted to make sure you understood there was two different types. Okay, compound interest has a pretty complicated looking formula. But again, it's just a formula. You got to figure out which numbers go where, plug it in, and use your calculator. So here's what it looks like. It's A equals P parenthesis 1 plus R divided by N, close parentheses, raised to the exponent of N times T. Okay, there's a lot of letters going on there, but all we need to know is what do these letters stand for. So A is going to be just like our Y in growth and decay. It's the final amount after a given time. Okay, so that's our A. That's usually what we're looking for. Now, I did give some challenge problems in some of the homework where you have to try to figure out how long it takes to get to that. Now, that's a higher level math concept that you don't know yet, but there's some trial and error that you can do, like we talked about with SAT questions. There's some ways around it. If you don't know the actual method, sometimes you can guess and check. So we'll talk about that later. P stands for principal. Principal is one of those words can be used a lot of different ways, but we're talking about principal in the fact that it's the original amount deposited. Okay, whatever you started with, the bill you started with, the amount you deposited in the bank, that's the original amount, also called the principal. That's why it's a P. Okay? R, just like in our other problems, stands for the interest rate in decimal form. So again, you have to take the percent, divide by 100, and that's going to give you your decimal. Even if there is a decimal in the percent, if you see the sign percent after it, you have to divide by 100 before you put it in the equation. N is the different letter you're not used to. This is the number of times interest is applied in a year. And I want to give you some words to look for so you know what number we're talking about. Okay? If we say annually, annually simply means once a year. Okay? So then our N would be 1. Quarterly means it happens 4 times a year. So you get interest 4 times a year. Great if you're trying to earn money, not good if you're trying to pay off a bill. So that would be 4. If I ask for, if it's daily compounded, we're going to go with 365 times a year. Okay? If I say monthly, that's going to be 12 times a year. If I say weekly, or if you see the word weekly, that means we're going to say 52 times in a year. Okay, so those words may pop up in some of the problems. And so then that'll give you some hints on what number you're going to use there. And T stands for number of years. Okay, so there's a lot going on here. We want to make sure how to do this. So I'm going to do one example problem with you. And then you have some homework problems that I want you to try as usual. Okay? So if you need to pause, because I'm getting ready to scroll, go ahead and pause so you can get all this written down. But let's go to the example. So the example, if an amount of $5,000 is deposited into a savings account at an annual rate of 5%, compounded. This gives you the key. As soon as you see the word compounded, you know we're using compound interest. Monthly. What is the value of the investment? After 10 years. So there's a lot of words going on, but you guys have learned that that's okay. You can handle the words. What we're going to do before we even start looking at the equation is let's find out what these letters are. So let's talk about A is what we're looking for. So that's what we're looking for. That's going to be our question mark. P is our original principal, what we originally deposited. So if you originally deposited $5,000, that's your principal. Okay, so that's what P stands for. All I'm doing is looking back at the notes. R is going to be our interest rate. In this problem, it's 5%. So we need to divide by 100 to get it into a decimal form. So that's 0.05 is our decimal form of the percent. The next thing we have to figure out is the N. And that's when we have to figure out how many times in a year is this going to be compounded. And we can find that up in the problem where it says compounded monthly. If it's compounded monthly, our N is going to be 12. Okay? And then we have to find out how many years are we leaving this money in the account. And in this case, it's 10 years. Now we know all of our numbers, and now it's just a plug it in and solve it problem. It's a substitution. So A equals 5,000 parenthesis 1 plus 0.05 divided by 12, close parentheses, 12 times 10. Now you can put this directly into your calculator exactly as you see it in the home screen because we're looking for an answer. What you need to be careful, depending on your calculator model, is that 12 times 10 in the exponent, that both 12 and 10 are in the exponent. For some of you, if you have an old-fashioned one, an older TI, you might want to put in 5,000. It's just a little bit easier. 1 plus 0.05 over 12, close parenthesis, raised to the 120. You might want to just do the multiplication. Okay? And so you should get the amount you would have after 10 years, compounded monthly, would be $8,235 Okay? I rounded to the nearest penny because we're talking about money. Now, I don't know of any savings accounts do this anymore, so that would be great if you could find 5% interest in a savings account, but you're going to have to take a little more risk if you want a 5% compounded monthly type investment. That would be a great investment. As you can see, after 10 years, you've earned $3,000 extra dollars. Okay, so that's compounded interest. Again, the last 3 lessons have really been just about figuring out the letters and plugging them in correctly to a formula, and then making sure you're using your calculator correctly. If you're having trouble like you've understood all of it and then you get to the point of using your calculator and you keep getting the wrong answer, I want you to save some of those entries and come talk to your teacher during our online office hours. That way you can show us what you're doing on the calculator and we can probably figure out what your mistake is. All right, thanks for watching.